Hey everybody, Reefgrrl here, and welcome to my channel. I've had a lot of requests for a tank update. I have a lot of footage that I've collected from this tank, I don't know, for the last year or so, and life has been so crazy that I decided the best way to at least get everybody caught up with how things look right now in early 2024 was to do a point and shoot. So here we go. Let's start with some ugly. I have mossy green algae growing on the sand, and I think there are a couple of reasons. This has been going on probably for about the last 6 weeks to 2 months, and it just seems to be getting worse. I haven't changed anything about the lighting. The nutrient parameters aren't horrible. Phosphate 0.1, nitrate 5 parts per million. But I wonder if it's a bunch of things. First of all, I believe my giant conch snails have perished. There's that guy, and then over here is the other one. I have picked them up, I flipped them over. There is no sign of a claw, and the eyes haven't been coming out. They've not moved for several weeks, but that's not abnormal for them. I only have a handful of other conch snails surviving in here. They do a great job, but I just think they just can't keep up with it. I have addressed that, and I'll show you in a bit what I've done. This has really been bugging me. So I decided to try Dr. Tim's Waste Away. I got myself a 1-gallon jug, and the normal dose for 600 gallons of water, which is what my system has, would be about 600 milliliters of Waste Away once per week. But I'm only giving 2/3 of the dose because I'm really reluctant to drop in too much of a dose suddenly. I would much rather start slow and work my way up to what it should be. That way there won't be any shock to the system, and I can watch and see what happens before I proceed. So 400 milliliters once a week, and it's really hard to be patient between doses because I just want to keep it going so that I can get this thing taken care of. After a couple of weeks of Waste Away and after doing more research, I decided to try Prodibio BioKit Reef. This package arrived in rough shape. There's going to be a video about that later, but here it is. I just started dosing it. There's been 1 dose, and it's bi-weekly. The normal dose for 600 gallons of water would be half of this box, but per usual, I'm going to just take my time and go slow. So after starting with 1/3 of a dose, next will be 2/3 of a dose, 10 vials. Following that will be the full dose, which will be 15 vials, which is half of this box. I have 2 boxes, so it'll be a little while, and we'll see where this takes me. So to deal with the algae problem, there's Waste Away, Prodibio, and the other day I did this. I took a trip to Kitchener Big Al's and picked up 10 tiger conch snails. These guys are a decent size. They're acclimating right now, and when we're ready to put them into the tank in a couple of hours, I will distribute them throughout. So it's hard to imagine they won't make some kind of a difference as they get used to their new environment and start chomping on that algae. Since we're in the back corner, let's do a bit of a tour. This branching GSP is about 2 years old now. Started as a small frag, and it's going crazy. I love all the corals up here on the rocks, a lot of encrusting going on. And then we come down to the Pectinia garden. I love each and every one of these things, and most of these came from Big Al's in Kitchener again. Some convict chalices, zoanthids. What would my tank be without a frag rack? We have the Gorgonian. Now this thing is preparing to shed, that's why it's all closed up, and I'm going to be trimming it in about half in the coming days, because when it's fully out, it's overwhelming all of those corals that are on the rocks below. Mainly zoanthids, but it's starting to affect them. Here's a closer look at a little torch that I'm going to be putting over on the other side of the tank. And there's Barney, the flame hawkfish. I got lucky when I picked the spot for this Jingle Bell Cyphastria. It started out as a small frag, that round bump right there on top, and it is really doing well. And this hammer to the naked eye is actually a peach color, although it looks yellow with this filter. One of these days I'm going to look up the actual scientific names for all of these maze brains if I can. They're really starting to grow now, and the one I know is this Ulophilia. It is just crazy. Here's a view down the right side of the tank from the front. You can see how big that Gorgonian is. It takes up a lot of space. There's a real presence there. Then at the back are my SPS corals. They are really difficult to get decent footage of because they're so far away. From this point, they're over 5 feet from where I'm standing. You can see the colony sizes. Oh, you caught a glimpse of a Blue Ridge coral there. And they're all doing pretty well. This is where I need to do a top down so that I can see how they're actually doing, what the colors are, how big they are, and just get a general sense of their overall health. There is really fast growth in the central area of the tank, and it makes sense because they're in the overlap zone between the two Orphic Atlantics I have in the canopy above. Over here at the left front, I have some torches. They look pretty good, but what dominates this to my eye is this bird's nest. It is massive and it's growing really fast, to the point where I think it's having an effect on this orange torch. Even though it looks like the orange torch is winning the war, it really never fully extends. And I think that's because it's using a lot of energy to beat back some space for itself. So I've decided the bird's nest has to go. I'm going to be pulling it out and discarding it. I'm a little concerned about how dangerous it is for my fish as well, because those points are very sharp. I've torn gloves on this thing, and I don't know. It doesn't do anything for me here. I think it's kind of ugly, actually. This is an octospawn. The peach colored tips have all but disappeared. Not sure why, but I'm planning on moving it. And here's the side view of the left front of the tank. A couple of blastos up front, Favia on the rocks. This is Mosellea latistillata, two different varieties. I've got a Martian snow Cyphastria, so named by Fragbox, where I got it. And this dragon's eye chalice, or devil's eye chalice. And this is some type of lobo, as reclassified. I would have called it a Symphilia, but now apparently we're supposed to call them Lobophilia. So it has dramatically grown. We'll see what happens. Back there you can see an urchin in the little cave. And here is one of my new starfish. These guys are roaming all over the tank. I have 3 of them. They are Red Sea starfish. A couple of nice pickups at the last coral show I went to. I can't remember the name of this Cyphastria. It's starting to encrust. Jellybean chalice. And up here I've got, I used to call it Mango Sunrise, but the colors have reversed. So now the highlights are green and the lowlights are peach, whereas before there used to be a green ring around the mouth while the highlights were orange. Very strange. And over here, black hole Favia. I believe this is an Echinata. Originally I was told it was a Favia, but given the growth pattern and what it does at night, I'm pretty sure it's an Echinata at this point. It looks like it's too close to the Raja chalice, but it's actually pretty far away. And in here, Season's Greetings. This is a Forest Fire digitata. Rarely see the green. Green Stylophora. Thing is really getting big, and it's impinging on my Turbinaria peltata. I'm going to be taking that Turbinaria out of there because it's hemmed in on 3 sides, and you can see that it's suffering because of it. There's a little acan that's struggling to live, so this thing will also do better once the Turbinaria is out of there. I know I'm not describing every coral I have here, so if you see anything and have questions, please leave a comment down below. At the back here you can see I have Goniopora. I have 4 different kinds. There's the red one, tried to kill me, the green daylily type just behind it, and then down in here I have a blue Gonny. It is doing pretty well considering I made a bad choice about where to put it. There's the pink one that I'm absolutely loving. And you can see this toxic green candy cane has a dead area. I believe that's because it's being stung by the purple candy cane below. They're in very close proximity. I don't think the Goniopora ever reaches that high, so I've decided I am going to leave it alone. I'm not going to try and cut out that dead area because I'm thinking if I even try, I'll likely shatter the whole thing. So when I look back here, I notice there's a lot going on in this little corner. Some things are doing well, not that chalice. It should be bright gold. This Favia is really starting to base out nicely. The orange Cinerina is struggling. The flow here is not right for it. I'm going to be moving that. I've already picked out a spot and we'll see if it does any better. This was sold to me as a Space Invader chalice, but it isn't. It's the wrong color green. Tangerine Leptocyrus. And then we've got the Rescue Bubble Coral, as always looking beautiful. Now, this acan is really doing well in this spot. So I'm hoping the Coral Beauty Angelfish doesn't do what it did down here. That was an acan, and I blame the Coral Beauty because it just started dying off in patches, and this is what we have left. But this octospawn I talked about earlier, I'm going to remove it from here, and I'm going to put it back in that corner, because that's the type of light that it had when I first got it, and I had it in the opposite back corner, and all the peach tips were gorgeous. There's a red Cyphastria, and here the clove polyps, I don't know if they're rainbow or not, climbing up the back, and of course the ginormous Duncan. It is just insane. There's a view across the tank. You can see some of the Acropora. I think that's supposed to be a pink Cadillac, and I'm hoping at some point I'll start seeing more pink, but it's looking healthy. I want to do that top down so that I can see if there are any polyps out on any of these. I can't tell from here, but they don't really look fuzzy. Across the tank you can see something that I am so glad I have. It was a 1/4 inch piece that broke off my original Miyagi tort, and it's the last bit I have left. It's doing great on top of that Montipora. So as we've walked around the tank and coming through here, I'm sure you've noticed how packed this tank is. And because of all that growth, I've had to do a lot of trimming, and the fish have knocked a fair few pieces of coral onto the sand. You might have seen a few lying around throughout this video. So I've been keeping all of those, and I've just let them die off in a container over here by my sink, because I have a calcium reactor, and someday I will probably be able to use all of these skeletons. That's the plan anyway. I don't have to run it quite yet. While we're over on this side of the tank, here's a closer look at the Miyagi tort that I showed you from the opposite side. And it is really, really nice. Occasionally the polyps do come out, but not consistently. One further thing related to the algae on the sand. Between my husband and I, we realized we've probably been overfeeding this tank. So we decided that we would cut in half the amount of food we were each putting in. Part of the overfeeding relates to having anthias. They don't graze, they only eat from the water column. So that's why you have to feed them frequently throughout the day, because otherwise they just won't get enough food to support their metabolism and their activity level. So because we've been feeding multiple times a day and not really being very careful with the quantities, that's probably why we're getting food settling down to the sand that's not being cleaned up, and I'm sure that's been a contributing factor to the growth of this algae. So hopefully that will also help, and we can maintain the health of all of our anthias by keeping on with the multiple feedings, just not putting quite so much in at one time. So there you have it. Crazy Town Reef, my piece of the sea, early January 2024. The tank will be 2 years old in April, and it is really maturing nicely. If you liked the video, why not give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. There's lots more to come. I just have to find the time. Stay safe, everybody.